This evening, I've got the director of the X Lakes, which is exciting, John Westall, who's come to talk to us about his winning track log from 2023. This is really cool because this is the highest scoring track log ever in the history of the X Lakes. It's the biggest score ever accomplished by anybody. And John is known to many of us as the man running the competition, but he's also got a pretty good history, a strong history of competing himself, as well as winning it in 2023 outright. John also won the teams category. Him and Bud won that in 2020, I believe, and has also placed really well. I think he won the Tri-Nations, which is the Hike and Fly series, that same year in 2023, and has come on the podium of many of the other Hike and Fly competitions around the UK, the Scotia and the Erie Eye and the Dragon. Has also competed in the Eiger Tour and all sorts of really high-level competitions in Europe. So, John, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, super. So, just help. This is the 2023. This is your winning track log, right? Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. We've skipped through from the start, and we launch on Coniston Old Man.
Okay, so this is the same one that I talked to Dave Ashcroft about, I think, or the same day, the flying. The first day of 2023, is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
And so we've got like a gentle southeasterly breeze. What is it, like 5 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour or something?
Yeah, very light. It's all thermic. It's mainly thermic air coming through.
Okay, and a high cloud base.
Yep, very high cloud base.
Cool. And so you start in Grasmere, and just to set the scene for people, you've run through the Langdales, or how have you got here?
So before then, so we before we start, there's a ton of planning going on, and we all knew that it's going to be an amazing flying day on Friday, then a very average day on Saturday, and I spoke to Rod Welford, who was the director at the time. I said to him quietly, I said, whoever flies the best on Friday will win it, I think. And it looked that good. And the way we work it is, in a nutshell, is that you need to be on launch. So a top tip for anyone is that we need to be on launch by midday.
Okay.
And that is the key. So there's a little formula we use out is we look at where we can get to, and then look at the mountain, make sure it's pointing in the right direction for the wings, and then we'll see if we can get there, or you get to that ridge, and then you make your way to that ridge and try and be on launch by about 11:30, 12. So that's the key point.
Okay, so you've run for about 4 hours at this point. You set, or is it, sorry, 5? Did you set up at 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning?
It's about 8:30 we set off. I have a few technical issues with trackers, and so my aim was to tag all the Coniston Wainwrights before I got to launch. Okay. Now I remember I came across Dave Ashcroft, James Dave, and I was heading over to Coniston while he was still tagging a few of the Wainwrights there. And I made it to takeoff by about 11:30, quarter to 11, that sort of time.
Cool. All right, so let's dive into it. Can you hit play and we'll see?
Yeah, we can. All right, so great launch, and you always get a feel for the day from your first couple of thermals, so you can see.
Can you zoom in a little bit for us? Oh yeah, that's a bit better.
There we are.
Yeah, lovely. So, okay, right, so just drifting a little bit, but you're climbing really well.
Yeah, so you can actually see it's south-southeast at the moment, and I've got a drift at about 6 miles per hour. Okay. So it's there's a little bit of wind there, but already we're climbing very well. So and there's other pilots in the sky, but always what I need to do is get high. So I got reasonably high there, but I wasn't at cloud base, so you go searching for a better climb to get you to cloud base. And you always know if you get to cloud base at 6 grand off your first thermal, it's going to be a cracking day.
Yeah, yeah, I would say. Okay, so this is interesting. So you're spending time just climbing up now and then going on a long glide. And yeah, where are you headed now?
So I'm up down the ridge. So I'm not going over the back, down the ridge where I get the best lift and drag.
Hmm.
And because I've tagged all the Wainwrights, I just need to cross the valley. So this valley here, where my arrows, it's a Rhinos Pass Valley.
Yeah.
So the idea being is I'll get over past Great Cars and I'll get another climb. So the idea now is just to head over to Pike and Blisco and start tagging these Wainwrights here, Pike and Blisco, Cold Fell.
So that's the bottom end of the Langdale Horseshoe, or sort of amphitheatre of the Langdale Fells. Yeah, is that right? Wow, there's excellent. There's almost no drift on your thermals there. Is that just because it was so light?
Yeah, it's just, so now we're out of the level, the main fells, just right in the middle of a valley here, and you just got a good climb to about 7 grand. So yeah, so now you're just playing ping ball, Wainwrights, and you got that Pac-Man Wainwrights are just bouncing off them and tagging them all. But the key is a few pilots phoned me up after this and asking me what was the key to the day. For me, it was being patient. So if you look at the time now, it says 12:41:42.
Okay.
Took off probably about 10 to 12, that sort of time. So now it's about just being patient and letting the day develop.
Did you have a sense of where you were going to aim for, or you just at this point you got so high that you're changing your plans on the fly? How's it working?
No, so what's happening now is I have a plan, and because I knew it was so good, it's such a good day, and looking at the Sea Breeze's convergence lines, I knew that I have a very good chance of going right round the whole lakes. So I aim really big, because if I couldn't do it today, I never could do it. So today was a day where I had to do it. Oh, by the way, too, I said to Rod Welford, whoever flies the best, would win this competition. And I said, so what is it to be me? And so I didn't want to make I didn't want to make any mistakes. So I was really, really, concentrated. I didn't lose any, I didn't rush it. I took the time.
And all these climbs here, is this pretty gentle air? Is this thermic and rough, or is this quite mellow flying? What's it like? I mean, it seems very high. What is that, 7,000 feet?
Yeah, well, for me, it was good. It was thermic. Because thermic, it's going to be bubbling air, so it's going to be unstable air, so it's going to be a bit rough. But your tolerance levels, you get used to it after a while, so it doesn't stress you so much.
And what are you flying here again? Just remind me. Sorry.
This is a Xeno Light, and I was on the weightless harness, so ozone wing and advanced harness.
Okay, so a D glider. Is that a D level?
Yeah, a D glider. Yeah, and it's weighing. The glider weighs 3 kilograms. The harness weighs 2, and the reserve weighs 1 kilogram, so 6 kilograms right through. So I'm looking at about 9 kilograms food and water and all the instruments.
Okay, that's very light. That's very light. I think Dave Ashcroft's carrying 16 kilos, but he's got a lot. He's volbiving and he's got a saucepan, famously, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, he's a legend, isn't he, Dave?
Yeah. So, but you've gone for a lightweight, like much lighter kit. And just sorry, we're missing the fells on your flight. Sorry, forgive me. Where have you got to now on your track log?
This is a tricky part now. So I've just done all the main massif of Scarfell, Pike, Slight Side, and there's more you can do here. But I've got my eye on the convergence line, so I don't want the Sea Breeze to come through and spoil what I do over. So I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking over towards Bassam Place, and I need to get across that valley before Sea Breeze comes through.
So you're going to try and do the Western Fells first? Is that the logic of that?
Yeah, so I've got to do all these, but in quite a timely manner. If I'm too slow, I won't make that crossing, and I won't be able to get back to the main mountains. So it's important that I progress at a good pace, but waiting for the Sea Breeze to develop. So it's quite a lot of. I'm always thinking ahead. This area here, this is Great Gable, and then Green Gable. So it's always a very tough area, so it's really always rough around here because you've got mixing air from the valley coming up to Ennerdale, you've got Wasdale, you've got Landale, and all the airflows, and it's just really mixes up here. And Buzz and I always, very apprehensive about flying over here. So this is an area that I fly over to high as I can from Scafell Pike, which is the biggest mountain. And so I had a good glide, and just pure luck, I just got this climb, and I thought, oh, thank God for that, because you start scratching around here, it's just unpleasant air. So I get that climb, and I'm so happy.
Yes, but it's much more drift on this climb. Interestingly,
Yeah, well,
is that just
so it's that mixing air I was talking about. It's it's coming up here. It's it's a lot going on. So now I
yeah,
notice the convergence air coming up here. So it's all bubbling away. So we've got the Wasdale Valley, and this is the Ennerdale Valley.
yeah,
So you see all these here, Green Crag and Windsor Gap, and all these are all Wainwrights. So you can get loads of Pac-Man Wainwrights here and gobble them all up. And I wanted to wait because I'm waiting for the sea breeze to come up the valley here so I can cross it. So it's a little bit of waiting around, but I'm not rushing here because I'm waiting for the right time, for it to start to build. It's important. So being patient was one of the biggest things I was telling people after this competition. They wanted to know.
Okay, so that's it. So you're never really going below about 4 grand, is that right? So you've got really good, like a safety margin over the hills.
The height's your friend, so and that's key about not rushing. So if you're rushing around, then you're losing your height, and you can get out. But if you don't, and some of the guys, are on the deck, and because we were rushing, I think. So I was taking my time, and so I've got massive altitude here.
So okay, so you're now coming back to the Buttermere Valley, is that correct?
Yeah, so now I've done the crossing. So this is the Buttermere crossing now.
Yeah.
And Dave's on my tail.
Yeah.
There's quite a few pilots around, actually. It's quite fun.
So similar strategy, which is the kind of out and return down the spokes.
That's right, yeah.
But massive height, just incredible height.
Yeah, so it's Dale Head now coming over to Robinson's. Now there's different routes you can take here. There's a route. Got to be careful not to touch that bar again. You could go down here and get Maiden Moor High Spy, and this is
Like the Catbells Ridge, that is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's Water. But I decided, thinking about time, and this is quite interesting. So I've got high here, and it's just all blue air here in here. And this is all going off here, so the sea breeze is already coming. So I took a gamble. I went down here to tag all these, and thinking, well, there might not be any lift there, but if you look, I maintained quite high, and I turned back up, and tag a load more coming back up. So it's unbelievable flying. It's
you're going up without turning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I just hit all this rising air. It's just beautiful. I couldn't believe it because I flew down here into blue air, and I came back up, and I was just tagging all these. And
am I right? There's a lot of very densely clustered high points down these ridges.
You see them all here. You've got Grasmere Pike. All these here are all Wainwrights.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful. You just tagging them all. Now the sea breeze is coming in here now. So I'll go around here. This is
very different to Dave. So Dave stayed more in the Central Fells, whereas it looks like you're pushing north at this point.
Yeah,
and as you said, you've got that big blue area that's the danger.
Well, this is not like a sinkhole here, but it wasn't that bad, so I'm getting quite confident about it now. This hole here was in cloud, so there's Wainwrights here, but I couldn't go get them all because it was all in clouds. So I thought I could lose some height, but the sea breeze was coming through up here. So I stopped there. Some more Wainwrights here, but which I could have gone to get, but it just wasn't worth the gamble going into the clouds. So I'll get low scum underneath the clouds. So I'm just seeing a convergence coming up here, which means sea breeze is coming. So I've got to get moving. So I decided not to tag all these Wainwrights and then I'm going my glide across the valley. So this is the gamble now. If I can get it working, there we are.
So you're a long way north. You're Bassenthwaite, effectively.
Yeah, crossing Bassenthwaite for it. Yes, just East Bassenthwaite.
And
And
is that a climb? You're getting a climb off?
yeah, I'm trying to get some height now because this is a sea breeze coming up here now, so a convergence line. But this is all blue round here when I make a crossing. So this is a big gamble because I know if I go across here, I might not get back, and that'll give Dave, the advantage. So I needed to make this work. But all this is all blue, all blue areas. But as the sea breeze came round here, it comes up here, it comes round the back, it starts popping off. But also all blue at the time. So, and there's quite a lot of Wainwrights here. So you've got Ullet Pike, you've got Dodge, you've got, Skiddaw, Little Man, and a whole cluster around the back there. That's Great Calver. But I didn't head over there because it's all blue and I couldn't risk it. So,
okay. So just to explain, you're still high. I mean, on any normal day in the Lake District, $5,000 would be very high. I mean, cloud base is normally lower than that, right? On any usual day. But presumably this is so what are you, 4.7, 4.6?
Yeah, so now losing height now. Now I'm flying over Jenkin here now. This is Jenkin Hill. And I see about 15 pilots sat out here, but not flying. And so that told me that the ridge wasn't working. So I'll just keep playing it. And round about this time, Steve Ashley came to join me. So we had some really good pilots flying. Steve Ashley, Greg Chilton, and many
you're
more.
You're losing height. So they couldn't get off the deck because it wasn't.
Yeah. So I thought, well, if the ridge is not working, then I'll have to push out into the valley because that might be working.
Okay.
So that's what I did, and I just get this climb over Latrig. Now I got this beautiful bit of footage, and hopefully you can edit it into the film of me and Dave, Steve Ashcroft firming out here together, and it's absolutely stunning footage. It's got me banked right over, looking down on Steve, but look at the climb.
Fantastic.
And then so I was getting quite low, and I had a gamble, and I had a punt out here, and then. Steve came and joined me, and we had this beautiful climb out. We just both smiling and laughing at each other. Now I get up here, and this is Belize here, and I notice about 20 pilots on Belize. Some good pilots.
Were they flying? Were they
No, they weren't flying. They're all laid out. Loads of pilots. I thought, well, they can't come here to watch me. So I thought, well, if the ridge isn't working, it must be working out in the valley. So I find here to tag Blencathra, and then I push out, and then. But as Steve on my tail, so me and Steve were flying together. But I wanted to shake him off because what I wanted to try is cross this massive valley here. So this valley here goes right over to Barton Fell. But look how flat it is. And but I didn't want anyone following me because that I knew that would be my big gamble. Now, so Bud and I, when we plan to land somewhere for the day. If we get there, it'd be like a dream scenario, I think Bud calls it. And my dream scenario was landing at Blencathra and camping there for the night. But I'm climbing out now at $5,000, and it's just about 4 o'clock. And we're climbing out. So I wasn't going to land in my dream scenario. And,
but you've been in the air now for 4 hours, at least?
Yeah, 4 hours, yeah. So, God almighty, I was very cold. I only had a few layers on because I didn't think I'd be fine for this long. So I had hypothermia for about 6 hours.
God, really okay. And your hands, how are your hands?
Oh, just frozen. Just absolutely frozen. But I wasn't bothered because I was in competition mode.
Okay.
You can put up a bit more. You can put up a bit more. So what's happened here now? I've gone over to the back of Suit Hill, all these Wainwrights here, Now,
Yeah.
Steve, he decided to, because I had the height, to fly over to the Helvellyn Ridge here. So I shook him off. I thought, brilliant. Now I shook him off. So now I have a massive gamble now.
So what height are you just set? I can't quite see because we're zoomed out. Is it $5,000 or five and a half?
So I'm at 3,600 at the moment.
Oh, so you've lost quite a lot of height. Do that
yeah,
out.
That's right. I'll just take that back a little bit because you're right. So I was at 6.5 grams.
Yeah.
So my gamble now, I see the convergence building up out here.
How do you see that? What do you look, clouds or?
Yeah, clouds. So the convergence, you see the little curtains coming off them, and they're really high. I'm at 6.5, and these are at 8 grams. And and what happens is and on the briefing on the X-Lakes, Buzz will give this briefing, but you talk about sea breeze, and this is a Solway Firth around here, that water there, and the air is rushing in, the cool sea air, so that's a sea breeze coming around. But it creates this convergence area where you've got the easterly coming this way, hitting here, and you have this line of cloud. And this is why it's important to be here at the right time, and that's why I want to get over here to see if I can do this crossing. It's really tricky, and I've never done it before, so it's a really big gamble. And I could have took the easy option and flown up the Helvellyn Ridge and done the milk run and flown down there and then jumped over. But you've got 2 Wainwrights here and you've got this big glide. So I commit to it. I'm thinking, well, I'm on my own, so if it pays off, I'll probably win the X-Lakes. But if it doesn't pay off, I'll be on the deck in no time.
Right.
So it's a big gamble, and I didn't need to do it. I could have gone down that ridge here.
Yes.
And so I turn and I go for it, but look at me sink. And already,
so this is quite serious. So you've been at 6.5, which is phenomenal. You're flying a glider with a very good glide, probably the best glide, for its class. And then you've lost half your height. Before you even really got to the valley.
Yeah. And I'm nowhere near. It's just going down. But then you get some little beep, don't you? A little bubble of air and a little beep. I think,
okay.
Come
something.
On. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
are these? How many meters a second is this that you're turning? What do you want to look for?
No, so the day was between 2, 3, and 4. These were quite smooth, but these went up to about 4 meters per second, something like that. 3 meters per second.
Okay, so it's a very efficient thermal. You're gaining a lot just by turning.
Yeah.
If you can find it, but okay. So you're back up. What is that? 5,000?
Yeah, so this is 5 grams. So I did quite well there, but I can see it was at a cloud base, but I can see that there's potential here to get even higher, and then I get into the sea breeze properly now. So now I start turning, and it's a beautiful feeling when you start getting up 6 grams. But I always say if you get 6 grams, you can fly anywhere in the lakes. And I think I get to about 8 grams. Look at this go now.
Oh my God!
Belting up.
This is disgusting. I can't bear it, mate. I can't bear it.
It's
so cold.
I was going to pause that there. I've got a little view here. I want to try and show. Here we are. So this is the view I get from Fermelin.
Wow.
Let's turn that off. So I'm not. So this is at 8 gram nearly, or coming up. And that's
so you can see the sea across the Lake District in all directions, basically.
Yeah, you can see the ocean. That's Solway Firth. And
amazing.
Look at that view. And that's what I get, the view. That's Ullswater there. And I'm turning really, really hard here. So I'm going up. It tells you here. So I've got it in feet, Anna. I'm not even at 8 grams yet. But look at that view. It's beautiful. And that's what I can see. And
man, the highest I've got so far is about 3.5 grand, and then I chickened out. So 8 is a bit like.
Wow. The higher I get, the more relaxed I feel because you've got so much time. And this is Barton Fell over here. That's where I'm heading to.
Right.
So that's I'll just turn that view off again. And so I've gone on another. I've got a bit more of a climb coming up. I'll speed that up.
But is this a glide into wind? Is this a headwind, or is the wind so light that it's not really a material?
I am. So that's 8.2 I got to there. So I I am going. I'm on the big glider now because I think I've got this now. I can get across the Barton Fell. And what I noticed on my glide is that the clouds disappearing over here. There's little bits, but it's all starting to. If you look at the time, it's nearly 5 o'clock.
Okay, and
So
how long have you got left then for allowable flying time?
well, we got to stop flying at 8, and then we run till 9, 10 o'clock, depending on the weather conditions. I think we're out to run till 9 on this one. So yeah, and I get a little climb here. So now I'm just going to eat all the best climbs I can get. Now, if you look at Dave, I noticed this. But Dave is on coming over to the Helvellyn Ridge, but all this is working a lot longer. This ridge here than over here. It's all getting quiet, and it's starting to cool down over here, for some reason. But I
Yeah,
noticed that.
Dave came through Thirlmere, didn't he? Came over the middle of Thirlmere, I think.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So you see the route I took, and Dave's just come back over the main fell. So he plays it safe, to be fair. Whereas I had a gamble and a punt out here, and I think that big chunk of massive over here that I got that Dave never. I think that was the difference between, and all these are big pointers too. There's no tens
Yes,
here.
because they're far enough away from Grasmere. They score 20, not 10 points in the. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Just help
Dave.
orientate us on where you are relative to Dave.
So
Dave's now.
so Dave's on Helvellyn now. It's just crossed onto Helvellyn, and
Yeah.
it turns round here and goes right down the whole Helvellyn Ridge. And now,
Yes, he got to Clough, didn't he? Whereas
yeah.
you're somewhere at the back of High Street. Is
So
that?
I'm on High Street. Yeah. So this is Placefell. This is a thermal hot point here. So if you come up with the lakes, Placefell is a thermal trigger. It just booms up here. But
Okay.
when I get round here, all this goes up. It's High Street's brilliant. But it's if you look at me, I'm finishing now because the day is quietened here. It's finishing, unfortunately for me.
So you're
So
trying to find somewhere to land. Are you going to top
yeah,
land now, or what's your
yeah.
plan?
So I've landed here now, and Dave's still going. Look, so he's still got a 6 grand, but over here it's all quietened off, and I think I think the sea breeze came through here,
Hmm.
and it just finished it off where this ridge here is working really well.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the timings point, you both made different gambles with your timings,
Mm.
but he was able to fly for longer, but in lower scoring territory, right?
Yeah,
So he
yeah,
he went up the ridge where it's 10 points per Wainwright, but because you'd gone out into that the Skidder Massive,
yeah.
you got all those points, right? And then like insane valley crossing, which just timed just really carefully just to get that
That's
convergence.
right. Yeah, well, the Buttermere one was the first one, and once I nailed that, then this one was the massive gamble. But I knew if it paid off, it put me into these high pointers for the next day. Now I've took the running footage off, but basically I ran from there along
Can you
these
just zoom in a bit for us, Westie? Is that all right? Just zoom in a bit so we can
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I see. So that is. I'm just trying to think. You've come down from Placefell.
Yeah, that's place fell over here.
You're in the middle of the High Street Ridge, and that's
That's right.
Blee Tarn, is it there? And then here. So okay. So you've got. There's a lot of Wainwrights all clustered there from memory.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So for me, I still had, let's put that back up. Um, Local time, it's 6 o'clock, so I still had enough time to go running, and I was so cold. Uh,
Mm.
I was so cold, so I just wanted to get the kit away and get running, and get warmed up again. And so I just ran from there all the way to Windermere, just tagging Wainwrights.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so James not so far away, but by this time I'm heading
Sorry.
down
So
this ridge.
just to clarify, so you're running basically down to Yoke and past Yoke
Yeah, so
via
that's
High
York.
Street.
Yeah, down here, and you got right way out of Dubs Reservoir, um, and
Okay.
that's where I finished, and I started off the next day.
But sorry. So you did that in 3 hours.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
yeah,
I went for a walk the other day to check it out for the one day competition. It took me about 6 hours.
yeah.
But
Well,
maybe you're in very fit for this
I, I,
competition,
I
possibly.
was very fit back then. I was at my peak in my fitness and injury free, yeah, I'm very fit. You know, I ran from Grasmere to Coniston, tagging them all, and I felt really strong. So I was really happy. And here, I just had so much running in me. I could have just ran. I could have run all night. To be fair, I felt so good.
And so this was getting you to Windermere for day 2. But what's left for day 2 if you've done? What did you do on day 2? I don't understand.
So day 2 went back to um the Cumbria horseshoe. So this area here, where my arrow is now, I flew across the valley in the morning here. I'll just spin it around actually. Here you can see if I can. It just gets a bit.
Yeah, so there's the Kentmere Reservoir, and there's,
Yeah,
as you say, like a big amphitheatre of fells around that.
yeah. So I ran around here, but I mean, it's a really frustrating day because I met quite a few pilots here. I think it was Pete Lake, and I said, "What I'll do is launch off here, be able to fly across to Heron Pike, so York, sorry, and then you know you might be able to walk back up and then fly off there again." But he flew across and got into some nice thermic air and flew over to Helvellyn. I couldn't
Oh,
believe
wow.
it. Yeah, so and then there's a few more here. Liam Bernie was here and he tried to fly across, but he never had much luck. And there was others here too, so there was a big cluster of us. And I ran up here and I was going to launch off here for day 2, and but then it started to rain,
Oh,
so
no.
I ended up running across to Red Screes and running up that, and it just I thought, well, when I get to Red Screes here, I'll fly off there, but then it's rain again, so I had to run down the Fairfield Horseshoe, and
Okay.
which is, you know,
There
there
is
we
an
are.
intelligent route, isn't there, from Red Screes back to Fairfield and then down that ridge. You can pick up quite a lot of the 10 points, I
Yeah,
think, through those ridges without having to lose your height every time from memory. But yeah,
yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, it's just like back up, but James, you know, James Rust, he flew back over, but because his tag most of these already round here, he you know, he just ran out of Wainwrights really, whereas I just made my way back, having to run most of it.
yeah,
But
Dave said that. Dave said he ran out of things to tag
yeah, that's
near
right.
Grasmere because he'd
Yeah,
already got them, I think, on the
yeah,
first day.
yeah. So yeah, so I made my way back, tagging all these 20 pointers here and here. And when I eventually got to Heron Pike, I could launch.
Okay.
And then so I'm no, Grasmere is only down here. So I got to Heron Pike eventually. I had to run round all these here like this, and I've got to here, and then the sky got good. But I noticed the sky was better over here, and this is where James was tagging all these Wainwrights around here, and we were leapfrogging. There's Greg Schultz and James and I. We're all leapfrogging. Steve Ashley's right on our tail too. And I could look at the live tracking, but I could see I was second and third. I went, oh no, I
Okay.
I couldn't launch anywhere. So like no. And anyway, again, I lost all my comms, and so I've never had comms for about 2 hours. And my supporter Darren, and Darren did so well because he's there to support me when I land. So he drove around all the valleys, trying to follow me around, looking up at me at about 6-7
Okay.
grand.
Right.
And I got to Dove's Reservoir and said, bloody hell, Westie, I got naked looking up all day. I'm sick of it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so that's brilliant. But and then so I had no comms, and I took off from Heron Pike, and then I got comms straight away, and then so I got on the phone to Darren, and I said to him, Darren, where's James? He said, I've got no comms. You know, who's winning? He went, Westie, don't worry about it, mate. And that's all he said. I went, well,
Okay.
where am I? I'm a, who's winning? I went, he said, Westie, don't worry about it, mate. Just get yourself back in. And and I could, you know, so I flown it through of Heron Pike, and I could have flown the Milk Run. You know, I could have flown perhaps half a Milk Run, so back up to Helvellyn, and
Yes.
maybe jumped over to Steel Fell and Helm Crag, and dropped back in. You see, so I could have got maybe another 100 more points. So I needed to know. I went, look,
Yeah.
Darren, I need to know, mate, because I either come in and land or go tag more Wainwrights. I said, where's James? You said. where's James? I said, oh, don't worry about him. I said, but why are you talking? Why are you telling me? He went, oh, don't worry about him. James was right by me and he's cursing you.
Okay, right.
And then,
Oh, so because David got back in already to Grasmere by that point.
yeah, so he's already landed. And they said, yeah, you're winning, Westie. You can't be beaten, mate. So just get yourself back in. And I'm like,
Fantastic.
wow. And I was really looking, maybe we can put it in, but Bud, who was injured this year, he got his drone out and he watched me flying into goal. And it's the
Okay,
best feeling.
awesome.
It's the best feeling ever when you fly into goal.
First obvious question is, how are you doing that amount of energy expenditure? You're running to Coniston and then you're flying in at very, very cold temperatures at high altitude, and then you land and then you run, right? And then on the second day you're running as well. Are you eating, or like how much are you eating? What are you eating?
Well, when you're flying, I'm sipping water and I'm nibbling on sugar mainly, so jelly babies or I may have a protein bar while I'm flying too. So that's what I'm doing when I'm flying. When I'm running, I'm always nibbling on something. I've always got. I use the sports gels. I use the peanuts, the carbohydrates, and dried fruit. So I've got a little bags of food that I'm always nibbling on, and always sipping water every 5 minutes, eating, nibbling every 10 minutes, all the time. So that's how you get into a nice routine, um, and you get what you get the foods that you like and what you can eat, and what you find the longer you do it for, the harder it is to keep eating because you feel sick. You don't feel like eating anything, but you got to be disciplined and keep eating. But because I flew so much on this particular one, the year previous when me and Nick Holt, we came joint first the previous year, and we ran for about 22 hours, and
Oh
flew for about
gosh!
1 hour. Yeah, so
Wow.
I
Okay,
mean that
fair
was,
enough.
and Nick was super fit too, and I was really super fit too. So
Okay,
brilliant.
so my next question would be about your like planning and tactics, or it might be strategy. I don't know how you just differentiate between those, but the obviously you've had what you described as a dream scenario, right? But you've also evolved a bit on the day. What would be the circumstances under which you wouldn't have made that big valley crossing at the end there? Like, was it ever possible that you would bail out of that? What made you think you could go for it?
You can only fly what's in front of you, and as simple as that. You have your best days when you don't have a task in, and you don't, by putting constraints, and it makes it difficult for you. But you can only fly what's in front of you. So on that particular day, it was going to be good, but you had to fly it well. So if the sea breeze had come through already, I was just retreating back and probably follows a very similar line to James and Dave. And knew it was coming through, and I needed to get over to Helvellyn and onto High Street via the same route as Dave, really, I took. But because we got there in good time, I could see the sea breeze and the convergence line. I could, I could fly, like you see, and that I knew I could cross over. Looking over at Skiddaw, it was all blue, so that was a bit of a gamble. But when I got over there, because sea breeze started coming through, it started pinging off the thermals, but the the lift wasn't on the valley anymore, and that's why all them people sat on the deck on the ridge, because no one wanted to commit because no thermals were coming through. There's no wind coming through because the sea breeze was undercutting, and and all the thermals have been triggered out in the valley, and that's why they weren't moving.
Okay, so that makes sense. So there are days, or it's possible to have conditions where if you miss your launch window, or if you don't top up when that's possible, this is your point about patience, presumably, that you
Yeah.
were quite careful to stay and take the climb, and that seems the opposite way round to what Bud did last year to win. So last year, maybe it's just a different day.
That's right.
But
That's right.
Bud stayed quite low. He didn't go up to cloud base. He just got enough height to progress. Whereas you seem to have done the much more different style of flying, possibly really focused on getting to cloud base.
No, it's just different days, and that you can only fly what's in front of you. On Buzz Day, it was a different day, and the way to attack that was low and quickly, because the times weren't there, the convergence wasn't there, the conditions weren't as good. We had the Goldilocks conditions were just perfect, you know.
Okay.
And so it's different days, and that's what I mean. You fly what's in front of you. When we did the Bob Gray, Bud and I, we took off from Jenkin Hill on the easterly, southeasterly. That's usually westerly, or southwesterly is Jenkin Hill. But we were taken off at a real strange angle. But we got to 6 grams straight away, and we knew it was going to be a good day. So if you get 6 grams when it's 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, you know you're going to be moving. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the key. You can only fly what's in front of you.
And can I ask about where you started? So obviously you didn't, when you first picked up a paraglider, suddenly get to 7 grand, right? When you first did the X Lakes, what was your first ever score?
Yeah, so I've been on a journey. I came back from a back injury, and I heard through the grapevine that jockey was starting the X Lakes up again in 2018. Now it was just a few selected people were chosen to do it, just test it out, and so but I watched it because I think the year before, 2016, 17. The late great Steve Nash, who's not with us anymore, he did the X Alps, and I listened to one of his talks, and I just started, just like yourself, learning, and I thought I want to do that. That's brilliant. Walking up mountains, flying over the Alps. I want to do that. That sounds great. And so when Jockey got the XLX going again, I thought I'm interested in that. So, but I only started flying in 2015. So I wasn't flying that long. But then he ran it again in 2019. So I put my name down for it. And I had the most brilliant adventure. Absolutely amazing. Honestly, I'm carrying about 23 kilograms, a bit like, even more than dangerous. I think I've just bought my Sigma, my first C, and it's quite heavy. I had my camping, I had my stove, and I was fit, getting fit. I started to train, and that's this amazing adventure. But you had the likes of Greg Hamilton there, Steve Reed, Rod Welford won it, but he was super fit and a much better pilot. But I had this amazing adventure where I got to Great Gable and had to fly just below the clouds to get down to Wasdale to get a signal back telling everyone I was okay, and I'm staying at Wasdale Head. And then I had to climb up Scarfell Pike the next day and run it back in, and then I flew into goal from Maiden Moor, I think, or Cat Bells, one of the two.
Of course, because it will have been in the flight park in the early
Yeah, that's
days.
right. Yeah, and I flew into goal, and I was the only person flying to goal, and I came in and I landed, and Jockey came out with a pint of beer and or a bottle of beer, and all the boys were there, came over to congratulate me, and I felt like I won it, but I actually came like second from last, but I felt like I won it, and I had this amazing adventure, and I'm not sure. I'm trying as director now. I want to keep that adventure part of it alive. So this debate at the moment whether it's peak bashing or fly to goal, a race to goal type format. But you get you can have such an amazing adventure, and you can set that adventure to your fitness level, to your skill level, and I'll never forget that adventure was as good as winning it, back in 2023. It really was.
Yes. Okay. So this is an important point, which is that it's you can. Bud said something similar, interestingly, which is his advice was to kind of set yourself a circle that you can do, that you feel you can accomplish. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And then just make it harder as you get better. And try and do more and that
That's
sort of
right.
thing.
That's right, and that's all I did. So I'm retired soldier, and so I've got a bit of professionalism in me, and I finished it, and then I sat down and I thought, right, how can I improve? Because I was hooked, I was addicted. I just wanted more of it, and so I just applied some the planning that I would normally do in the military, and I looked at all the areas, the fitness, the equipment, we get food. They, look at wrecking the areas, make sure we have good recce of the areas we're competing in, and put all this together, and you start to improve. And so next year I got a bit better, and I think my first score was like 200 points. Then it went to 400, then 600, then the year after 800, where I think I came joint first with Nick Holt. And then when I won it in 2023, I got 1,800 points.
Yeah,
So
amazing,
every year
amazing.
you can see me improving, and every year I'm doing a bit more. I'm buying lighter equipment. I'm getting a supporter. I use Darren Goodlad, and he's a very seasoned supporter now. He knows what to do, and he's really good. And so I had a supporter. My equipment was lightweight, rather than 20 kilograms. Or 23, it's now down to about 8.5, 9 kilograms. It's a massive difference. I had a supporter helping me carrying food and water and telling me about the weather picture, etc. And so all these things add up and make you a bit more competitive.
And so, what is that? It just sort of that follows on to my next question, which is your advice to people who maybe have done it before or doing it for the first time, who are wanting to be competitive. Is it all of those things they have to improve, or is there one or two that stand out for you as the things that really make the difference?
Your flying's the big one. Your flying skills. You've got to you've got to you've got to nail that side of it. You've got to be able to fly really well. So that's the main one. Your equipment gets lighter. Your support, that's another big one. Your fitness. So I got really fit because obviously we're in the UK. We're going to have bad weather. So the ex-area where me and Nick Holt, we had a brilliant race together. He's super fit too. And we both ran about 120 kilometers in the ex-area. And then and he just picked me in at the end. I just didn't make goal because so I lost quite a bit of points but yeah, so he just picked me. But so that fitness is really important. Food, I looked at fasting. And so your diet's important. So if you do all these things, then you gradually start getting better. So navigation is super important. Using instruments is super important. And the reconnaissance of it is really important. And so I get
by
that
reconnaissance, do you mean physically going to the different fells and
yeah.
flying
So
them, or
flying them, walking them, getting on the ground, looking at them. It's so important. And Bud and I, so when I invited Bud to come, come hike and fly with me, mate, it was brilliant. I'm hooked. And Bud came and said, "All right, mate, yeah, cool." So we had a little team, and so we did in 2020 we did the Dragon for the first time, and and we went down a couple of weekends and wrecked it. And it paid off hugely because I've not flown in the Black Mountains before, or the Brecon Beacons. And so by flying around there and walking it, I found out where this house thermal was. And, and that's critical because it works. And where we launched from, we actually do this tricky crossing and onto this ridge. And I knew it could be a thermal there waiting for me. And it was. And me and Danny Starsmer had this amazing battle. And Danny's been competing in the Dragon for quite a few years, 5, 6 years, and not quite won it. And me and him was just fighting, fighting it out for first place. And the only reason I was up front, because we had, great people like Tim Pentreath and Greg Hamilton and many other good pilots. and Bud, of course. And I think Bud came third. But so me and Bud recorded it, and Danny won it. I came second, and Bud came third. And we only did that because, you know, our flying skills probably, but because that recce helped.
Okay, so
hugely.
local knowledge and having a sense. I mean, some of the things you're talking about there in that track log. It's a really cool track log, by the way. It's inspiring to see. But some of that stuff you know from years and years of flying in the Lake District, presumably, like the sea breeze effect and the which
Yeah.
faces are going to work, and also where's dangerous. So your point about I don't mean dangerous, Dave. Sorry, I mean where's a hazard. So your point about the gables and the unpredictable air mass around the gables is the.
I mean, it's normal, you know. If that day it's so light, the turbulence wasn't that much of an issue, but the mix in air can be a great gable. You know, it's bit Buzz, it's bit me a couple of times, and it's just really, really awful bubbly air, and I never like flying around there. So when I got that thermal above it, I was really happy just to miss that out. We go down the ridge, so yeah.
And can I just ask you, sort of, it's my final question in a way, or sort of the thing that I've wanted to ask you, which is almost like a philosophical question, which is about competitions in general, right? So the criticism of competitions is that it does encourage this, like the animal spirits in paragliders, right? So we want to take more risk and we fly in stronger winds, and the urge to do well is part of being competitive. But the positives of competition, it seems to me, are massive. Like, would you have ever taken that flight if it wasn't for the fact that you were competing in the X Lakes? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I get you. Yeah, so you push yourself more. No, and the reason why it would be no, I probably set myself a task. And so when you're free flying, like when we go to the Alps flying, you're moving, there's no cylinder there, driving you away, so you can just like, oh, I'll go over there, or go over there, oh, that's right, go over there. You can just bounce around. Although I did have a lot of wainwrights of the task, but I knew the weather picture was good, and I knew that I could, you know, if I can fly well here, I can fly around the lakes. There's some crux points, that we call it. A crux point is what, like a valley crossing.
Yes.
So every valley, so you look at the valleys I went over: Wasdale, Ennerdale, Buttermere, then you go over the big valley to Skiddaw, then the massive valley to Barking Fell from Souter. I mean, that was a massive jump. And yeah, good question. I
But
think,
would you ever fly that if it wasn't for the X Lakes pushing you to think that it's possible? Do you know what I mean? Would you have ever, if you were just free flying on an afternoon, I can't imagine you would have flown such a track. Or are you the kind of person who would do that anyway on any
no,
given Saturday?
I plan. You see, I plan what we're going to do. So the great thing when you get a lot more experience, a lot more skill, I can look at a weather window, I can look at a set of mountains, and I can kind of work out where I'm going to be at the end of the day. I can work out what's possible, roughly. But you always get caught out. So I thought I can do that loop, and I'll if I get to Blencathra, I'll be, you know, I should be able to get there. But
Yes.
then I was climbing out at 6 grand, and I thought, now what? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm flying what's around me. Well, convergence going down there. Helvellyn Ridge is working, and I had these people following me, so I want to shake them off. Oh, and by the way, when I took that crossing, Pete Lake and Greg Chilton, were two brilliant hike and fly pilots, they followed me across on the.
Okay.
So I thought I got rid of Steve, and then Greg and Pete Lake followed me. I went, no, bloody hell. So
Yeah.
but when I was a thermal ahead, they came out of nowhere and followed me across. I went, bloody hell.
Right. So this is the other thing, is having other pilots in the air gives you so much more information, right?
Yeah,
So much more
yeah,
information.
yeah. And then, cause I'm not sure them two have made that crossing if you saw me going over there, you see.
Yeah.
I think the safe crossing was to go down the Helvellyn Ridge. But I guess they saw me climbing out at 8 grand. they're going to follow me, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
totally. Totally.
but
Well, look,
yeah, you're right.
amazing.
It's a great point, like you're right. I think we restrict ourselves, and I mean, like yesterday, Buzz and I did a 100-mile flight from the Dales to Lincolnshire.
Okay, who had to go and retrieve you? How did you get back?
We got a train back. It's really
Okay.
great. It was great. We got back by 8:30 or 9:30. No, 9:30. So we landed and we're back home by 9:30. Back in Kendal for 9:30.
All right,
But
amazing.
my point is, you kind of, I set myself a task and a goal. So I hit a goal, which is the Hull. So I watched the fly to Hull. So I got to Hull, and that was about 120k. And then, but we're at 7 grams. Well, so we flew over the Humber and flew to Lincolnshire.
Amazing.
And then we got sea breeze, unfortunately. But yeah, we did 100 miles. So it's, but that, yeah, so you kind of restrict yourself. So but it's amazing what you can do, you know, if you.
Yeah, incredible. It's incredible to see. It's incredible to see the track log like that, Westie. It's really inspiring stuff. Thank you for coming to talk to us about it. I really appreciate it. We have to do the advert, obviously, at the end of the video, and the advert is if you want to come and fly with. Well, you're not competing because you're doing the race, presumably. So you're overseeing the scoring.
Yeah,
and...
I'm unfortunately I can't compete. I'm directing, so yeah, I'm looking after all the pilot safety. So
okay,
yeah.
Cool. But so if you want to come and fly as part of the X Lakes, it's the 18th to the 22nd of June is the sort of camping dates, and then the 2 days of the competition will be within those, probably the Friday or Saturday, depending on the weather. You can apply on Air Tribune, and there's the 1 day race, which is more the kind of weekend warrior version, which is the bit that I'm hoping to do. Can you just talk a little bit about the 1 day race and how that differs from the 2 day?
Yeah, so you look at 8 hours. It's a brilliant race format. It's 8 hours. Absolute brilliant day last year. We picked the best day out of the two. So you turn up, you do the briefing, you register, do the briefing as per normal, everyone else. Now, if day 2 is better, then they'll start day 2. If day 1's better, then they'll start day 1. And then the race at the same time, about 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then race for about 8 hours.
Okay, and would your advice be similar? Try and get to take off for 12, and then do something with those 4 hours in the air.
Absolutely, that's your key. If it's flyable, you want to be at takeoff. If you're on the deck between 12 and 4, you've absolutely made a huge error. That's top tip. Get somewhere for 12, maybe 11, because you know it can start working earlier. So try and get to a takeoff at 11, depending on the wind direction. Have a bit of a path, work out a bit of a path, but get flying. You've got to be flying as early as you can and stay high as you can.
Amazing.
That's okay.
Thanks for doing the video with me, Westie. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see some people in June in a few weeks' time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.